VARYS is one of the main schemers in Game of Thrones. He originally came from the continent of Essos, but moved to the Seven Kingdoms, where he made an outstanding court career and became the Master of Whisperers. Essentially, the head of royal intelligence. VARYS seemed to be all-knowing. His little birds, numerous agents, reported to him about everything happening in the capital, the Seven Kingdoms, and even on another continent. VARYS skillfully navigated during brutal conflicts, almost always coming out a winner, or at least unscathed. However, what was he really after, and what was his true goal over the years? Different characters had different opinions on this matter, and VARYS himself gave varying answers depending on who was asking. But the eunuch clearly had his own goals. He was too clever not to have them. In this video, I suggest we figure out what VARYS really wanted. At first glance, it might seem that VARYS was merely an ideal royal servant, smart enough to carry out his duties well, but devoid of vanity because he was a eunuch and couldn't aspire to personal power in any case. In this case, one might assume that VARYS simply wanted to do his job well. Indeed, VARYS obediently served several kings. He started his service at the court of Aerys II Targaryen, who specifically summoned VARYS from the Free Cities because he believed he could only trust someone with no ties or interests in the Seven Kingdoms. Then, when Aerys II was overthrown, VARYS quite calmly transferred his service to the new king, Robert Baratheon. After Robert's death, the eunuch started serving his son, Joffrey. After Joffrey's death, VARYS stayed on the council under young Tommen and his mother, Cersei. However, after Tyrion Lannister's escape, VARYS eventually abandoned his position at King's Landing and, after having killed Grand Maester, Pycelle and Kevan Lannister fled. According to another theory, VARYS was nothing less than an altruist who cared about the state and its inhabitants. In fact, VARYS served not the kings, but the people. That's why he could so easily retain his position under any ruler without suffering from pangs of conscience. Indeed, from certain episodes it might seem that VARYS desires stability and prosperity for the Seven Kingdoms. While serving under Aerys II, the eunuch tried his best to reason with the Mad King, who simply refused to listen to him. While serving under Robert, VARYS actively managed the internal affairs of the state while the king indulged in drunkenness. And he also kept an eye out for external threats, spying on the exiled Viserys and Daenerys. Then, he supported Joffrey because he believed this candidate would be the safest for the kingdom. Only when VARYS realized that a mad and furious Cersei, who was ready to drown the Seven Kingdoms in blood, had seized power, did he decide to switch sides and look for a more worthy ruler, one who would either care about the people himself or allow VARYS to do so. But in such a case, VARYS could have opened his eyes much earlier, right after the death of King Robert. He could not have been unaware of what a sadist Joffrey was, and placing such a youth on the throne was definitely a bad decision for the state. Perhaps VARYS indeed wanted something else. Another theory suggests that VARYS aimed to restore the Iron Throne to the dynasty that had originally founded it, uniting the disparate kingdoms into a single state 300 years ago. That is, to return the Iron Throne to the Targaryens. Allegedly, the Master of Whisperers always maintained loyalty to the Targaryens, and spent all these years trying to prepare their return to the throne. That's why Varys' childhood friend, the Magister of the Free City of Pentos, Illyrio Mopatis, gave shelter to Viserys and Daenerys, financed them, and helped find allies. Meanwhile, Varys playing the role of a submissive royal servant, used others as hands to destabilize the situation, creating conditions for the Targaryens' return. That's why he supported Robert's debaucheries, and then supported the cruel Joffrey and Cersei, understanding that they would push the Seven Kingdoms to rebellion, during which the Targaryens could return. In the series, this version seems the most plausible, because Varys eventually fled to Daenerys, became her advisor, and helped her on her long journey to the capital. Only at the end did he become disillusioned with her, but still bet on another Targaryen, Jon Snow. However, the story unfolds somewhat differently in the books, so Varys' true goal seems to be the following. To understand what Varys really wanted, it's worth recalling his early years in the Free Cities. There, born practically in a ditch, he found himself an ambitious and brave friend, Illyrio Mopatis. They teamed up, and thanks to Varys' intellect and Mopatis' charisma, they became a formidable force in the city of Pentos. Even then, Varys organized a network of informants, and years later, he successfully applied this experience in the Seven Kingdoms. In Pentos, the Friends, by blackmailing the rich and trading information, became some of the most influential people. So Varys' craving for power was evident from his youth, and it is logical that it persisted after his move to Westeros. My opinion is that Varys wanted power for himself. However, being a eunuch and a foreigner, he could not claim the title of lord, let alone king. Therefore, Varys had to act through others and create a compliant puppet from whose shadow he could rule. The kings he served were not suitable for this role and were independent of him. That's why he decided to bet on someone else. Initially, Varys planned to bring the exiled Targaryens, Viserys, and Daenerys to power. However, he soon realized that they were not suitable for this role. Viserys grew up too arrogant, unstable, and foolish, and risked becoming another mad king over the years. Therefore, Varys deliberately sent him to the Dothraki, anticipating that this visit would end in Viserys' death, and so it happened. As for Daenerys, he never considered her for the role of ruler. After all, she was just a girl. Varys left her without remorse as the wife of a Dothraki, Khal, expecting that no one would ever see her again. However, Daenerys seriously disrupted his plans by surviving in the Dothraki steppe, awakening dragons, and amassing her own army. The real puppet of Varys was another person, a youth nicknamed Young Griff, whom the eunuch passed off as the miraculously saved elder son of Rhaegar Targaryen. According to Viserys, the boy had been prepared for rulership from a young age. He received an excellent education, life experience, was noble, honest, charismatic, and understood better than anyone what it meant to be a king. That is, he was the perfect candidate for the throne. Here, one might think that Varys simply wanted to restore the Iron Throne to the Targaryens, justly. However, there was no confirmation that young Griff was indeed Rhaegar's son, except for the words of Varys himself and the fugitive knight Jon Connington. The youth could very well just have been a pretender, given the abundance of people with Valkyrian features in the Free Cities, whom Varys had specifically raised to place on the throne and control. And in the book, Varys fled from King's Landing precisely to join young Griff, not Daenerys. If one considers the theory that Varys himself is a secret Targaryen, or rather, a Blackfyre, a collateral royal line that fled to the Free Cities, then his desire to sit on the Iron Throne becomes even more logical. And that's all for now. If you liked this video, don't forget to rate it, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon. Your activity is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.